Madam Secretary Clinton, honored members of Congress, I thank you for allowing me to be here today. So let's get started by imagining that you own a small industry employing 300 registered voters. You produce a component that contains a small $10 semiconductor originally used in a 1960s technology fighter bomber. You're on the internet. You pull up a request for bid from an allied nation's government website. Your product meets their specification. If you can win this bid, you can stave off an imminent layoff and probably hire an additional 50 people. As you continue to read, you come across the clause, product must be ITAR free. That 50-year-old obsolete semiconductor in your product is still subject to antiquated ITAR export controls, and now you're out of the bid before the game even started. Crude example, but I've seen similar cases. U.S. industry is burdened by ITAR. My duties have required that I become aware of and deal with these rules, and I've had to tell flight crews that we're unable to sell them parts for their 50-year-old utility helicopter used in a humanitarian mission because of a U.S. trade embargo on their country. However, in accordance with the U.S. Energy Information Administration, we had no issues importing 9% of our crude oil from this very same nation last year, that being Venezuela. I've seen a customer's 32-year-old helicopter sit grounded for 4 weeks, subject to $1,500 fines per day, awaiting U.S. State Department approval for us to export a fuel cell to Brazil. I too believe, as you do, that we have to have restrictions in place to ensure that leading-edge technology does not fall into the wrong hands. However, I plead with you I plead that you listen with open minds my discussion of the problems and possible solutions to the throttling of our exports and our growing inability to compete with other nations. So let's look at some of these issues. The cost of being ITAR compliant for both the U.S. and our foreign trading partners is a huge financial burden, according to my colleague and manager of our global trade compliant department. Not to mention the licensing fees of up to $2,800 per year per product per the U.S. State Department. Gray areas and slippery issues of interpretation also leave companies wide open to unintentional violations, resulting in fines of up to $1 million and possible prison sentences of up to 10 years. Secondly, our antiquated Cold War-based rules has hobbled our international competitiveness. Directed by President Obama, a broad-based review of all U.S. export controls was undertaken, and the results recently made public by Secretary of Defense Robert Gates. It revealed that our national security is not adequately protected. It revealed that an exceedingly complicated structure with too many redundancies, providing protection for too many antiquated items and insufficient protection for newer sensitive technologies, not to mention two differently tiered export control lists under the watch of overlapping government organs, creating bureaucratic confusion and interagency conflict. The third problem is the loss of both domestic and foreign business. That means American jobs. Foreign countries and even our staunchest allies today are looking elsewhere for their technological needs. Examples being satellites, aircraft, and warships, military products also, other military products. So, David Pugliese, an award-winning reporter of defense issues, reports that the Canadian Navy has decided to upgrade and modernize their entire fleet of frigates, but not using any American technology, or as little as possible. A recent letter to the National Security Agency from the Aerospace and Defense Industries Association of Europe warns us that European governments are increasingly encouraging their national industries to produce and promote ITAR-free products. So what are the solutions? We need to reduce the cost of ITAR compliance. We need simplification and clarification, allowing a reduction in costly training and downsizing of staff. We need to make major and immediate improvements by consolidation of existing agencies into one single licensing agency and restructure the two existing export control lists to get rid of redundancies and work with package lists rather than individual piecemeal parts. We can also counter the growing ITAR mentality mentality of our international allies and trading partners by the implementation of general open licenses based on trusted certified companies and demonstrate our trust of our allied governments' export controls, as most partner governments readily accept the U.S. as a final destination for defense articles without any licensing at all. Yes, we need to protect national security, but we don't need to protect antiquated technology. New technology life cycles last no longer than 6 to 12 months any longer. And with the existing recession and the bloated unemployment numbers, we cannot allow ITAR-free mentality continue breeding within the community of our trading partners. So, you Congress must reach past partisanship and push legislation to allow reform. President Obama's State of the Union address reminded you and the voting public that if we don't take the initiative now, we will lose the opportunity to create new jobs here in America. It's going to take work, but Americans and our industrial capacity certainly has the potential to become the world's #1 exporter of high-tech once again. But we cannot do it without you taking the helm and steering this ship on a correct course to export reform. Good afternoon, and thank you for your time.